The horn on Launch Complex 39B cuts through the night. The pad is dark, empty, but the alarm is live.
Don't touch it. Rule 3. Never silence the sirens.
Inside the shack, Anthony Reyes flips open the shift log. His pen drags across the box. Occupied. 1 a.m. No rocket is staged. No launch is scheduled. The horn cuts out. The radio spits a blast of static. A warning panel on the pad goes dark again. The sirens are silent now.
1 to 4 in the morning. That's the window. Something walks up there.
He's never seen it. 247 entries in the log, and tonight he's alone. The pad is officially occupied. The rules don't explain why. They just say, "Do not investigate." Anthony stares through the window at the gantry, and the silence presses in like deep water. 7 years at the Cape. The rules were never in a manual, but they were the first thing any new guard learned.
Pad occupied from 1 to 4. Never investigate. Anniversaries of fire and falling. Don't enter the perimeter. Sirens go off on their own. Don't silence them. If you see an Apollo suit on the gantry, log the direction. Nothing else.
The last rule. 247 logs since 1967. The figure has never been challenged.
Because we were ordered not to.
Anthony checks his logbook again. His pen hovers. There's nothing new to write, but the ritual helps. The clock ticks. The radio stays silent. The gantry waits. Outside, the pad is dark and still, but the log says occupied. And that is never a mistake. Anthony pushes back from the desk and steps out into the humid Florida dark. His maglite cuts across the fence line.
Pad is officially occupied. Stay in the shack. That's the rule. But the fence feels too close tonight.
He walks the perimeter, the beam of his flashlight sliding over warning signs and razor wire.
247 nights. Other guards log times and directions. They never walked out here.
He shines the light up at the service tower. The gantry is empty. Always empty.
And yet,
the silence is heavier now. No crickets. No wind.
In a week, it'll be January 27th. Apollo 1.
The day of the cabin fire. The anniversary curse. Anthony kills the light and walks back inside. The logbook waits, and the rules are no longer just words. The calendar on the wall had January 27th circled in red. The anniversary shift.
Someone had to work it. This year, it's me.
He found the duty roster. Beside his name, a handwritten note from the senior shift lead. The note was blunt. You'll log it occupied at 1. Do not enter the pad perimeter. Whatever you hear, let it be. He clipped his ID badge to his uniform, heavier than it had felt before.
Maglite, logbook, radio. Same gear, different night.
He drove through the darkened entrance. The floodlights on the pad visible in the distance. The guard shack felt smaller tonight. The clock read 11:45 p.m.
One more check of the perimeter. Then wait.
He settled into the chair, the logbook open to a blank page. The pen rested on the desk, waiting for 1 a.m.
Old wiring, salt air, nothing else.
He'd heard a dozen guards say the rules were just hazing for the new rotation. Nothing more, but the sheet taped above the horn console read, "Do not silence," in red permanent marker. He stared at the button, then pulled his hand back like it had burned him.
They never say what happens if you silence it. The older guards just go quiet.
The radio hissed static. 247 entries in the log, all following the same formula.
Maybe every guard just copied the one above them. Maybe nobody really saw anything.
The clock hands crept closer to 1 a.m. outside. The sirens stayed silent.
But the duty roster note was real. Written by a supervisor who didn't joke about anything.
He pulled his hand back, leaving the button untouched, and stared at the monitor showing the empty bridge. A yellowed printout was pinned beside the monitor. The header read, PAD 39, B Security Protocol, internal use only. 247 logged events since 1967. Pattern consistent with anniversary dates. Verified by multiple personnel. Do not engage. Do not alter instrumentation.
They don't even call it a figure. It's just pattern and events. That's worse.
He looked at the monitor. The gantry was empty. Always empty. He remembered a rumor. A guard on this anniversary, years back, heard footsteps on the gantry. He found boot prints on the bridge that started in the middle and stopped at the service tower. Nothing let in. Nothing let out.
Maybe just a story. But the memo didn't read like a story. It read like a directive.
His eyes went back to the logbook. The blank line for 1 a.m. The protocol was to write occupied, and then nothing. He reached for the pen. His hand trembled. The clock hit 1 a.m. He wrote the word. He set the pen down. The word occupied stared back at him from the logbook. Final.
Write it, and it's no longer a possibility. It's a fact.
For a long minute, nothing happened. The monitor showed the pad as it always was, empty.
Maybe the log was wrong. Maybe the old-timers were just messing with me.
Then the monitor flickered. At exactly 1:01, the launch pad floodlights powered up, one bank after another, until the whole gantry blazed like a runway. The light was brutal, clean white and hazard red, carving the gantry out of the darkness, leaving no corner for shadow.
This is it. The anniversary is real.
The entire launch complex seemed to exhale, the structure suddenly alive under the glare, every beam and rivet sharp. Anthony scrambled for the binoculars on the shelf, nearly knocking them off. He pressed them to his eyes and aimed at the bridge, his hands trembling against the eye cups. Through the binoculars, the gantry bridge was a harsh white rectangle suspended in darkness. No one there. Not yet. He scanned left, toward the service tower ramp. A shadow separated from the wall.
Something's moving.
The shadow resolved into a human shape, tall, deliberate, stepping onto the bridge like it was a scheduled walk. White pressure suit, bulky, life support pack, gold visor facing forward. In one gloved hand, a metal clipboard.
Rule 4. Log the time and direction. Don't approach, don't...
The figure walked with a steady, unhurried stride. Not a stumble, not a drift, a pace that belonged there. Its boots made no sound Anthony could hear, but the binoculars showed every detail. The creases in the suit, the way the clipboard caught the light.
That's an Apollo suit. Exactly like the photos. Exactly.
And it kept walking, straight across the bridge toward the center, where a command module would have been. The figure halted at the middle of the bridge, at the position where the command module hatch would have been. A gloved hand rose and lifted the gold visor. The metal caught the pad lights, flashing once. Inside the helmet, there was only deeper shadow. No face, no features at all. But the motion was unmistakable. A pilot surveying his ship before launch. The helmet turned east, facing the dark Atlantic, a head lifting, as if checking the weather. It held that pose, utterly still, for almost 60 seconds. Then it moved again. The visor dropped shut, and the figure became anonymous again. A closed helmet, a blank stare. It pivoted and started walking back toward the service tower, the clipboard still in its grip.
It's leaving. It never looked this way.
The entire inspection had taken less than 3 minutes. The clipboard never left its hand. Anthony watched the figure reach the service tower ramp. It passed into the shadow, and the darkness swallowed it whole. The launch lights snapped off, one bank at a time, reversing the sequence from before. The gantry went dark. The pad was empty again. Only the stars and the distant rumble of the Atlantic remained. He lowered the binoculars. His hands were shaking, the knuckles white on the grips. He sat down heavily at the desk, the logbook open to the page with occupied. He picked up the pen.
Log the time. Write it. A minute, a direction. Just right.
His hand trembled so violently the pen tip skated across the paper, leaving an illegible scratch. He set the pen down.
Rule 4. You broke it. You broke the only rule that matters.
He stood and stared out the window at the dark, empty gantry. In his mind, the visor kept rising. He sat in the green glow of the monitors, hands still trembling, replaying the ghost's inspection over and over. The hours between 1 and 4 crawled past in a haze of green monitor glow. His hands still shook.
Fatigue. Light playing off a weather balloon. Something rational.
But every time he shut his eyes, the replay started. The gold visor lifting, the black helmet turning east at 4 a.m. He wrote vacant in the log. The word felt like a perjury. He drove out of the pad as dawn bled gray into the sky. The white suit burned behind his eyelids. The car idled in his driveway. He sat there, staring at the garage door, not moving.
The memo didn't warn about what it does to your head. The way it makes silence feel like a scream.
There was a name he'd heard older guards mention in whispers: Jack Morrison. The NASA security liaison who never talked about the rules.
He'd know. If anyone would, he would.
In the morning, he would find Jack Morrison. Tonight, the gantry would not let him sleep. 3 days later, Anthony sat across from Jack Morrison in an office cluttered with mission binders and faded launch patches. Jack listened without interruption, his eyes steady behind steel-rimmed glasses.
It lifted the visor. It looked east, toward the Atlantic, like it was checking the weather.
He described the clipboard, the deliberate stride, the way the gold visor flashed in the pad lights. Jack removed his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. Then he nodded slowly.
You've seen the inspector. That's what we call him.
Inspector. Like it was a job title. Like it was routine.
You are not the first guard to sit in that chair, and you won't be the last.
He's not denying it. He's not even surprised.
There's more to tell you, but not yet. First, you need to understand what you are a part of.
Jack leaned back and gestured toward a framed photo on the shelf. The Apollo 1 crew, smiling in their white suits.
On January 27th, 1967, Grissom, White, and Chaffee died in a cabin fire during a plugs-out test. They never made it to launch day. The inspector is one of them. Every anniversary, he walks the gantry to finish the pre-launch inspection he never got to complete.
Jack described the same ritual Anthony had witnessed. The walk, the clipboard, the visor lifted eastward.
He never finishes. He stops at the hatch, looks to see, and then turns back. For 56 years, it has always ended the same. NASA does not interfere because we consider it a matter of professional dignity. He is still one of us, and he always will be.
They don't see a ghost. They see a colleague finishing his shift.
You don't have to be afraid of him, Anthony. He's not here to hurt anyone.
A silence settled between them, heavy with decades of unwritten logbooks and unspoken grief. Anthony stared at the photo again. The smile of the men in the picture felt different now, more like a promise.
Tear, there's one more thing. I've never shown this to anyone outside the liaison office.
He pulled out a yellowed envelope, sealed with brittle adhesive, and set it on the desk.
A NASA flight surgeon wrote this in 1967, right after the fire. I've carried it for 30 years.
Jack slid the envelope across the desk toward Anthony, his fingers lingering on the old paper.
This is it. This is why he called me here.
It's addressed to the night security personnel. In perpetuity, that means you.
Anthony lifted the envelope. The weight of it was negligible. The weight of what it contained was not.
In perpetuity. Forever.
Read it alone. Then you'll understand the rules aren't just for us. They're for him.
Anthony slipped the envelope into his jacket pocket. The seal was still intact, but he already felt the shift inside him. Later that night, alone in the guard shack, Anthony drew the envelope from his pocket and slid a thumb under the brittle seal. The paper inside was dry and fragile, the typewriter letters faint with age. He held it up to the monitor's faint light, to the night security personnel at LC-34 and LC-39B. In perpetuity. He has unfinished work. Let him finish it on his own schedule. We owe him at least that. He is one of us. He always will be. The letter was signed by the NASA flight surgeon. The ink now a pale brown against the yellowed page.
He is one of us. Not was. Is.
He read the line again, the words settling into his chest like a weight and a permission, all at once.
That's why the rules exist. Not to protect us from him, but to protect his duty.
He folded the letter carefully along its original creases, his hands no longer trembling.
The inspector is one of us. So am I now.
He tucked the letter into the inside pocket of his uniform and stared through the grimy window at the dark pad.
From now on, every anniversary, I'll do more than log. I'll salute.
The rulebook didn't allow for saluting, but the letter had rewritten the rules. He would add his own.
Not to interfere, just to acknowledge. A gesture from one crew member to another.
He stood in the green glow and raised his right hand to the brim of his cap, slowly, deliberately, as if the pad were watching. He held the salute for a count of 3, then lowered it. It felt like a promise.
I am part of the line now, the ones who keep the vigil.
He practiced it again, facing the window. The gantry was invisible in the dark, but he knew exactly where it was. When the next anniversary came, he would stand at the fence, not behind the glass, and offer the inspector what no protocol required.
A salute. The least we can do.
On the anniversary night, Anthony stood at the perimeter fence, the logbook inside already read occupied. At 1:01 a.m., the pad floodlights blazed on, illuminating the gantry like a stage. He didn't retreat to the shack. He stayed, boots planted on the asphalt. From the service tower, a white shape separated from the shadow and stepped onto the bridge. Anthony raised his right hand to the brim of his cap, a slow, deliberate salute. He held it, staring at the bridge, at the path the inspector walked. The inspector moved without pause, boots soundless on the grating. When the figure turned and walked back into the tower, Anthony still had his hand raised. Only then did he lower it, letting the arm fall to his side. The lights died. He stood alone under the stars, but the pad didn't feel empty anymore. He walked back into the guard shack, the door closing softly behind him. The logbook lay open. He picked up the pen, and this time his hand was steady. He wrote the required entry. Figure observed at 114 E to W, per procedure, no anomalies. Then, beneath it, in smaller, careful script, he added 2 words, salute rendered. He signed his name, Anthony Reyes, at the bottom of the page.
The log is complete. No omissions this time.
He closed the logbook and rested his palm on the cover. The weight had shifted.
This is how it should be. Every anniversary, the pad is occupied, and we do not interfere. We stand watch.
The rules were still the rules, but now there was something more. A quiet acknowledgement that the inspector was not just a phenomenon, but a colleague. He sat back, the green monitor glow flickering, and felt a peace he hadn't known in 7 years. The anniversaries blurred into a rhythm, occupied at 1 o'clock. The lights at 1:01, the figure on the gantry. And every time Anthony Reyes stood at the fence and raised his hand, the logbook filled. Entry 248, 249, 250, the same coordinates, the same description. He never saw a face under the gold visor. He never needed to. Different stars wheeled overhead. Different clouds crossed the moon. But the pad was never truly empty.
Grissom, white, chaffy. One of them walks, and we keep the vigil.
He logged each sighting, added salute rendered, and signed his name. There was no horror in it, Only a quiet, enduring dignity. The pad was occupied. It always would be. And somewhere on the gantry, a ghost in an Apollo suit walked on, his clipboard still in hand. Another shift, another anniversary. The routine was the same, but the dread was gone. The pad is never truly empty. Some duties don't end with death.
The inspector isn't a haunting. He's a shift that never ends. And we're his crew.
He still flinched when the horns kicked on by themselves, but he no longer feared the gantry.
Good morning, Commander.
The words were barely a whisper. The figure never acknowledged them, but sometimes the air on the pad felt lighter afterward.
I am part of something bigger than protocols now. It's a privilege.
The logbook continued to fill. The figure continued to walk. The pad continued to be occupied.
I've never seen his face. I don't need to.
Because he is one of us. He always will be. The gantry stands in the quiet of dawn, steel washed in pale orange light. Inside the shack, the logbook lies open on the desk, a pen resting beside it. The latest entry reads, "Figure observed, E to W. Per procedure. Salute rendered. Signed, Anthony Reyes." Beyond the pad, the distant vehicle assembly building catches the first light. The Atlantic surf is a low murmur, steady and unhurried. The horn console still reads, "Do not silence." The red marker peeling at one corner. The rules are still taped to the wall, their edges curled, their meaning settled into the wood. The pad is empty, but it is logged as occupied. It always will be. And in the shadow of the service tower, a vigil does not end. He is one of us. He always will be. Another dawn over Cape Canaveral. The gantry casts long shadows across the flame trench, empty but not vacant. In the guard shack, the logbook lies open to the final entry, occupied. The word is heavy with decades of ritual. The rules taped to the wall are yellowed, but their command is fresh. Do not investigate. Do not interfere. Log the time. Salute if you must. The do not silence label peels at one corner, but the horn will sound again. It always does. The Atlantic surf is a low murmur, exactly as it was on January 27th, 1967. A cricket chirps, then another, then silence. The vigil does not end. The pad is logged as occupied. It always will be, as long as there is a night shift at 39B. The image fades to black, and only the sound of the surf remains. The surf fades too. Silence.